Let's be honest for a second. When you think about buying a house, actually buying one, not just looking at Zillow at 2 a.m., when you can't sleep, what's the first feeling that hits you? Is it excitement? Probably not. For most of us, it's a quiet, heavy sinking feeling in the stomach. It's that invisible wall. You look at the prices. You see a standard starter home going for $4, $5, maybe $600,000. You do the quick math in your head. The math we were all taught is responsible. Okay, 20% down. I need to be safe. I need 20%. You type it into the calculator. 20% of 400,000. That's $80,000. Pause. The host leans back slightly, letting the number hang in the air. 80,000 cash. And that's just the down payment. That doesn't include closing costs, inspections, or the moving truck. So you look at your savings account. Maybe you've got 5,000, maybe 10. Maybe you've been hustling and you have 20,000 saved up. You've done everything right. You skipped the lattes, you drove the old car. But 20,000 isn't 80,000, so you close the laptop. You tell yourself, maybe in 5 years, maybe when I get that promotion. And you go back to paying rent. You go back to paying someone else's mortgage, building someone else's equity, while your own dream gets pushed just a little further down the road. I know that feeling. I lived in that feeling for years. It feels like the game is rigged, doesn't it? Like the ladder was pulled up before you even got to the first rung. But what if I told you that the math you're doing is wrong? What if I told you that the 20% rule is actually keeping you poor? Buying a property doesn't require a mountain of cash. It requires a shift in psychology. It requires understanding a game that wealthy people have been playing for decades, while the rest of us were trying to save our way to wealth, one paycheck at a time. You don't need $80,000. You might not even need 20. Today we're going to talk about how you, yes you right now, can get into the real estate game with surprisingly little money down. And more importantly, we're going to talk about why doing this might be the single most important psychological shift you ever make for your financial freedom. Here is the problem. It's not your bank account. It's your definition of buying a home. When most of us say we want to buy a house, what we really mean is, I want to buy a beautiful turnkey single-family home with a white picket fence, a 2-car garage, and a kitchen island where I can host Thanksgiving. We view a home as a consumption item. It's a trophy. It's the reward for making it, and because we view it as a reward, we treat it conservatively. We want low payments, we want safety, so we fixate on that big down payment to keep the monthly costs low. But that mindset is exactly why you're stuck renting. The wealthy don't look at their first property as a trophy. They look at it as a tool, a lever. See, there is a fundamental difference between buying a home to consume it and buying a home to produce for you. If you are trying to buy a liability, something that takes money out of your pocket every month, then yes, the banks want you to put a lot of money down. They want to minimize their risk because you are the only one paying for it. But the moment you shift your perspective from buying a dream home to acquiring an asset, the rules change. The down payment requirements change. The risk profile changes. We need to stop trying to save for the finish line and start looking for the starting line. The reality is, there are government-backed programs and strategies designed specifically to help you buy property with 3.5% down, sometimes 0% down. Let's go back to that $400,000 house. At 20% down, you need $80,000. Impossible for most. At 3.5% down, that's $14,000. $14,000. That is achievable. That is a tax refund, a side hustle, and a few months of disciplined saving. That is real. So why doesn't everyone do it? Because of fear, because of the monthly payment, because of the psychology of debt. We're going to dismantle that fear right now, piece by piece. The concept we are talking about is leverage. Now, leverage is a scary word for a lot of people. It sounds risky. It sounds like Wall Street gambling. But leverage is simply the ability to control a massive asset with a tiny amount of your own energy, or in this case, your own money. Imagine a heavy box, 500 pounds, you can't lift it. That's the $400,000 house. You can struggle, you can strain, you can try to grow stronger, save more money, but that box is heavy. Now imagine a lever. You put a long plank under the box and you push down on the other end. Suddenly, you can lift that 500-pound box with just a little bit of force. That is what a low money down loan is. It is a lever, the tool, FHA, and low down conventional loans. The specific tool we usually talk about here is the FHA loan. This is a loan insured by the Federal Housing Administration. It was literally designed to help average Americans who don't have rich parents or massive trust funds get into homes. They allow you to put down as little as 3.5% if your credit score is decent, usually around 580 or higher. There are also conventional loans that allow 3% or 5% down for first-time buyers. And if you are a veteran, the VA loan is 0% down. That is the most powerful loan on the planet. If you live in a rural area, the USDA loan is 0% down. But let's stick to the 3.5% example because it applies to almost everyone. You put up $14,000. The bank puts up $386,000. But here is the magic. You get to keep 100% of the appreciation. If that house goes up in value by 5% next year, it gains $20,000 in value. You only invested $14,000, but you gained $20,000. That is a return on investment of over 100% in 1 year. If you had waited to save the $80,000, that 5% increase would have just made the house more expensive. You would be chasing a moving target. By using leverage, you catch the target. You lock in the price. You stop the inflation clock. The strategy, house hacking. Now, I can hear your brain screaming. But wait, if I only put 3.5% down, my mortgage payment is going to be huge. I can't afford that. You are absolutely right. And this is where the second part of the psychology comes in. This is the part that separates the people who stay broke from the people who get free. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable for a short season to be comfortable for the rest of your life. This strategy is called house hacking. Instead of buying that single-family home with the white picket fence for yourself, you buy a multifamily property. A duplex, 2 units, a triplex, 3 units, or a fourplex, 4 units. Or you buy a single-family house with extra bedrooms and you rent out the rooms. Here is why this changes everything. The FHA loan allows you to use that 3.5% down payment on a property with up to 4 units, as long as you live in one of them. So let's play this out. You buy a duplex for $450,000. You put down roughly $16,000, 3.5%. Your mortgage payment, taxes, insurance, everything, might be around $3,500 a month. That sounds terrifying, right? But you live in one side. You rent the other side out for $1,800 a month. Suddenly, your personal obligation drops from $3,500 down to $1,700. $1,700 to own a $450,000 asset. That's probably close to what you're paying in rent right now. But the math gets even better over time. Rents go up. Your mortgage mostly stays the same. In 3 years, maybe that rent is $2,000. Now you're paying $1,500. In 10 years, the tenant might be paying the entire mortgage. You are living for free, or close to it. This is the secret. The bank looks at the rental income from the other unit, and they actually use that to help you qualify for the loan. They expect the building to help pay for itself. The psychological barrier. Technically, this is simple. Emotionally, it is hard. It's hard because your friends are buying the pretty houses. They are posting photos of their granite countertops and their empty guest rooms. Meanwhile, you are buying a box that has a tenant living next door. You are dealing with a shared wall. You are becoming a landlord. It requires a suppression of ego. You have to delay the gratification of the dream home. You have to say, I am not buying this house to impress people. I am buying this house to buy my freedom. I remember when this clicked for me. It wasn't when I saw the numbers. It was when I realized what rent actually was. Rent is the price you pay for patience. You are paying someone else to wait for their capital to return. When I realized I could jump to the other side of the table with only 3.5% down, my anxiety about money changed. I stopped looking at the $400,000 price tag as a debt. I started seeing it as a savings account that I could live inside. Think about the psychological relief of knowing that if you lost your job, you have a tenant paying half your bills. Think about the confidence of knowing that every month a few $100s of your payment is paying down the loan principal, adding to your net worth automatically. You stop feeling like a victim of the economy. You start feeling like a participant in it. This isn't just about money, it's about agency. When you are renting, you are at the mercy of the landlord's whims. When you own, even with a small down payment, you are the captain of the ship. Yes, the ship has a mortgage, but you are steering it. And here is the beautiful thing about the little money down approach. It preserves your cash for safety. If you dump all your cash, $80,000, into a 20% down payment, you are house poor. You have equity, but you have no liquidity. If the furnace breaks, you're in trouble. But if you put $14,000 down and keep the rest of your savings in an emergency fund, you are safer. Cash in the bank helps you sleep at night. Equity in the walls does not. In a weird way, putting less money down can actually be the safer financial move, provided you have the cash flow to support the payment. Okay, let's get out of the clouds and onto the pavement. If you are sitting there thinking, I want to do this, but where do I start? Here is the roadmap. 1. The credit check, the gatekeeper. You don't need perfect credit, but you need decent credit. For FHA, 580 is the floor for the 3.5% down. But realistically, aim for 620 or 640. It makes the process so much smoother. Action. Download a free credit app today. Look at the number. If it's low, spend the next 6 months fixing it. That is your job. 2. The reality check. Stop browsing Zillow and talk to a local mortgage broker first. Ask specifically for FHA or low-down conventional options for house hacking. They'll give you a concrete savings target, for example, $15,000, so you aren't guessing. 3. The savings sprint. Once you have your number, gamify your life. You aren't skipping coffee, you're buying bricks for your future. Short-term sacrifice for long-term equity. 4. Hunt for ugly. Avoid the HGTV perfect homes. Look for bad carpet, weird paint, and overgrown lawns. You can fix cosmetics, but you can't fix a high purchase price. Target duplexes or homes with convertible basements. 5. The roommate compromise. If you can't find a multifamily, buy a 3-bedroom house with 3.5% down. Rent out the other rooms. Labeling your milk in the fridge is a small price to pay when your roommates are covering 70% of your mortgage. 6. Reserves are king. Never spend your last dollar on a down payment. If you need $15K to close, wait until you have $20K. Real estate without a cash cushion is a nightmare. With one, it's a business. Subscribe to Wealth Logic. Think smart. Build wealth.